welcome to Sociology Introduction. I'm going to be teaching you some sociology as I learn it in hopes that will better your education and your understanding of sociology. I firmly believe that sociology itself, can help the society. If we can understand it, we could diagnose some of the problems that faces certain societies and that cause certain societies to crumble. I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to get right into it. Okay? The first thing I want to get to when we start this is what is sociology? Many people like to compare sociology with psychology. And it's a big mistake people often make, and I want to make it clear before we move any further what the difference between sociology and psychology is. But first, I'm going to give you a definition, okay, that my professor has given me in college. All right, sociology is the systematic study of social behavior and human groups, okay? It is the systematic study of social behavior and human groups. Now, I'm going to give you an example. Say, for instance, we have a guy named Bob who goes into the supermarket one day and is waiting online. In front of him is this big guy, a masculine guy. He's very bulky and he looks a little intimidating, and he's 6 feet and so on. Behind him is a very beautiful young woman about his age who he's very attracted to and is interested in. Now, having this guy in front of him and who tends to be more masculine or who looks or who plays the part of alpha male, and then you have this beautiful young girl in back of him, he's at a little bit of a strain here. He has to act in a certain way. Now, again, look at the situation. We have Bob, and in front of him is that big, bulky guy, and in back of him is that beautiful woman. Psychology would study why Bob took the actions that he did going forward. So say, for instance, again, we have this situation, big guy in front, young, beautiful woman in back, Bob in the middle. There's 10 minutes until they even get to the big guy to check out. So Bob now has this window of 10 minutes to do something or to act certain ways. Psychology would study exactly why Bob acted the way he did. Sociology would say Bob acted the way he did in those 10 minutes because of some social force. Sociology would study Bob's actions in a social way, meaning he acted that way not only because of psychological means, but because there are some abstract, invisible social forces that are inside each and every one of us that cause us to act in certain ways. So society and the values and norms are in you, are in me, or in Bob, for the example. And it's so sociology would study why he acts the way he acts. For another example, you have someone on the street. Let's say you have a person named John on the street, and John normally doesn't give money to the homeless, right? Normally doesn't give money to the homeless. But he's on the street, and he's in an area where, although there are few homeless people, everyone in the area is very, very Orthodox Christian. And charity is the main goal of everyone's life. Perhaps not the main goal, but an aspect of following Jesus. He's walking in that particular neighborhood of Orthodox Christians or Catholics, or, who are Orthodox Christians. And he decides to give money to the beggar or to the homeless when he normally would not have. You see what I'm saying? Psychology would study why he chose, psychology would study why he chose to give money, but sociology would say, wait a minute, there are some social factors here, some social norms, some invisible forces that made John act the way he did that's usually not his character of acting. Okay, so that's what sociology is. Sociology is the systematic study of social behavior. How do we behave in social situations, and more importantly, why? Why? Okay? That's what sociology is. So I want to delve right into this real quickly. First, I want to give you a little bit of history, again, as my professors have. I want to give you a little bit of history of where sociology came from, this new academic discipline. And sociology emerged as a new subject in the latter part of the 18th century, okay, and developed through the 19th century. Now, why? Why would a subject like sociology, the systematic study of behavior in human groups, develop in the late 18th century? What was happening in the late 18th century? Right? Just take a minute and ask yourself, what happened in the late 18th century? You have these huge revolutions and societal movements. You have the American Revolution, you have the French Revolution, you have the Scientific Revolution, you have the Industrial Revolution that happened, you have the Scientific Revolution, and then you have urbanization, education. All these movements happened, and so these scholars and philosophers, which we'll get to later on, like Comte and Durkheim, wanted to study why we behave the way we behave in social situations. What is it about culture and society that makes us act a certain way? Does society have an effect on us? All right, so that's where sociology came from. Philosophers and thinkers during those time periods who really wanted to ask these questions about how society affects us. And so, of course, it developed as an actual subject in the early 19th century, okay? Now, just to, before we actually get more into the topic of sociology, excuse me, I just want to go over a few things also that my professor taught me. I thought it was very, very interesting. You need three keys or sets of ideas that are necessary for any type of science to exist. Now, you're going to know that when I am teaching you this sociology, I'm taking it from a very medical perspective. If you, we're going to mention Durkheim, and Durkheim believed that sociology should be studied as a physician studies the body, where the doctor looks at the body and looks at the organs, knows the relationship between the organs, and then when there's problems, they can diagnose because they understand. And so I'm going to take that approach to sociology. I'm a firm believer in what Durkheim professed, in that sociology should be, and it is in and of itself, a science, and that if it is wielded the right way and we can understand society in the right way, we can be doctors of sociology and we can diagnose and help problems in society and culture, where we can have a nice equilibrium, where there's moral consensus and shared beliefs and mechanical solidarity, where people are happy or at least content. And that's my personal belief, but you'll get that as I progress through the lessons. So three things that sociology needs to, three key aspects that sociology needs to exist are these: freedom of thought, awareness of crises, and a belief that something could be done about the crises to remedy it. Now, isn't that true for all science, right? Let's take a look at medical science. Medical science, you have freedom of thought. People can contribute to the ideas of medical science, and there's no restriction because you have the scientific method. There's no restriction. In medical science, there is an awareness of a crisis. someone's sick, someone's ill. And now science, or that medical science, takes what it believes and what it has proven in its research and believes that there could be a remedy or something to be done to diagnose and to cure the problem. So that's what sociology also professes, is there's a freedom of thought in sociology. There's an awareness, obviously, of crises that are happening in societies. Societies fall and crumble for reasons. And there's a belief that in understanding sociology, we can remedy the crisis. We can diagnose the problem, and we can help. Okay? So I just want to leave you off with that for a little bit. Next, I'm going to stop it here because I think I kind of gave enough about what sociology is and kind of a little introduction. The next lesson I'm going to go into, we're going to go right into sociology. We're going to go into something called the sociological imagination, right? That was coined by C. Wright Mills. And that should be really fun. We're going to learn about that. We're going to learn about some vocabulary and the language of sociology so that we can better understand the society and why we behave in it.